Welcome to the Rundown, episode number 2. This week on the Rundown, we're going to be talking about AI policy in education. Are we keeping as up to date as quickly as artificial intelligence is? And the commodification of healthcare. What do we think about Apple getting into the business of healthcare, specifically when it comes to Apple AirPods Pro 2? I have two fantastic guests, and I'm excited to get this conversation started. Welcome to the Rundown. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to the Rundown. I'm so excited to be here today, and I'm so excited to welcome back Tamra to our conversation. Hello. Tamra. How are you?
Hello, David. I'm great.
Good, fantastic. And you're not out. No, what time zone are you in again? Remind me.
I'm in Los Angeles, so I'm on the Pacific.
And so, are you just not going out for Halloween, or are you like me
I'm,
and you just don't care?
I'm, I legit don't care. I'm probably going to go out after this and go visit with some family, but I'm not a trick-or-treater. I've never been. Even when I was a kid, I wasn't a trick-or-treater.
You know what my problem with trick or treating is? My problem is I'm very happy just hiding in my house and not really getting to know my neighbors, which is terrible. Like that's not I'm not advocating that, but I'm very happy being on my own. And so the thing about trick or treating is that the one time that I would go out to actually see my neighbors is to say, "Give me something." Like it's
Right.
if it were the other, if Halloween were about me going out and giving something, I think I'd feel differently. But I don't know.
Well, and for me, I do theater, so like I don't need to dress. I don't need any special day to dress up. Let's dress people for a living.
Every day is Halloween in Tamara's house.
Today is Halloween in the theater.
I'm really happy to see you here. And I'm
Thank
also
you. Thank
really,
you.
really excited to welcome to the program Paul Wallace. Paul, how are you?
How are you? I think we're going to have to call you the reverse trick or treater.
Yeah,
I
I'm
can't
most
wait till you show up at my
no.
house.
You know what I did with my kids? So we because I'm really not both for religious reasons and also for just the icky reasons I don't do Halloween. So what I did with my kids when they were young is I said, I tell you what, we don't celebrate Halloween, but we can absolutely help other people celebrate Halloween. So what we would do is we'd go out, we'd buy candy, and I'd let them dress up in the house. And then every time they helped someone celebrate by giving them candy, they got a piece of candy themselves. That worked
That's all
until
of that.
my kids were about 2.5. And then it just fell apart completely. So
That's
they're all
awesome.
out right now, trick or treating. I have no
I'm
control.
expecting no trick or treaters tonight. I live at the end of a long and winding road. And if somebody makes it back here, I'll empty out all the candy I have for them.
I just
I
keep
think
my
there's a
lights off.
1% chance they'll show up.
Isn't keeping your lights off, isn't that like the universal symbol for don't bother me, I don't do Halloween?
Yeah,
I don't
Yeah,
want to
yeah, pretty
play.
much. Yeah.
which is so terrible.
That's me though. I'm going to go to my sister's because she will for sure have candy and kids at her house. But for me, I'm going to be like, please do not come before I have to leave.
We're so antisocial. What's wrong with us?
I saw cute trick or treaters at the mall today. They were adorable, and
Oh, yeah.
all the people were giving them candy. So
Well, there you go. There you go. All right, my friends. So let's jump into this. Let me set the stage, and then we'll bring up this panel to discuss this. Um, this summer, there was, I think it was a TED talk, but it was more of a discussion with the founder of Conmigo. Excuse me, the founder of Khan Academy, and he was talking about their new AI tutor, Conmigo, which is a very, very interesting tool. I just actually signed up as a teacher, and what I'm showing you here is not nearly the interesting parts of it, but it has very focused for education ways that it can help you. So, for example, let me go over here to one of my documents. I happen to be teaching a class it's a graduate level class on digital religious expression. And I took their final project and I pumped it into Conmigo. And I asked it, I said, can you please give me step-by-step assignment directions? And it did a really nice job. And if I want to dive in deeper to something, I can ask Conmigo a question. Let's go ahead and discuss this. I wrote write assignment directions. It gave me that. I said discuss this, and then it gave me a more detailed explanation of what it worked on. This is stuff that we can do in lots of different AIs. What's unique here is that is the way that it's packaged. It's packaged specifically for education. And the thing about the Conmigo, the product that really caught my attention is the AI tutor. And then I started doing a little research. And one of the things that a lot of people have been talking about is how our the AI policies that all of our schools wrote, our universities, our secondary schools even, the policies that they all wrote were obsolete about 3 days after they wrote them, because of the pace at which AI is evolving. So let me just start with this, and I'd love to hear from both of you on this. Where have you seen AI, either in ways that you're using it for teaching or in schools or universities? Where are you seeing this being used? Where are you seeing it being challenged? What have you heard about AI policy in education and the state of that affair right now? Tamara, let me pick on you first.
So I come out of a K-12 teaching background, and I haven't been in the classroom for full time since 2015. So I'm way behind, but I was always the more techie person. So I reached out to my teaching friends in K-12, actually K-16, and I said, "Hey, what is your AI policy?" And a bunch of people don't have one. Not surprising. And then what I found was interesting is I got people from very small schools who had the AI policy of absolutely not. There was a school in Texas. I won't mention what it is. But their AI policy was one paragraph. It said, do not use AI under any reason. That is a cheating offense. We consider that cheating. And then the next line underneath it said, if you use AI, make sure to cite it. If you don't cite it, that is this offense. I'm like, but you just told them they can't use it. How can they cite it? And then it was mixed in with this one paragraph policy with anything offensive is not allowed in our school. And so I started just pumping in like, what are AI policies? And what I found, I put in the big university, I put in Harvard, and it's a whole system of things. It literally tells them, gives teachers the language. If you have a loose AI policy, if you have a tight AI policy, if you have a medium one, they have pages and pages of information that is ever evolving, and it encourages their teachers to use it.
So does that mean Harvard?
People tend to fall in the, I want to use it or I don't want to use it.
Does that mean Harvard I'm muted, sorry. Does that mean Harvard as a school doesn't have a unified policy?
Their policy seems to be what I found in a lot of my professor friends came back and said, if they're in a mid to like a high public school university, like a bigger university, a lot of the policy is it's professor's choice. And so, but Harvard, and I also looked up like USC, I looked up UCLA, like some of the bigger universities, particularly ones that are doing work in AI, that are doing research and are kind of on the cutting edge of figuring this out. They tended to have a policy that was like, we encourage everyone to use AI, but we also recognize that there are ethical problems with it, and that there are, that there are lots of different problems with it, but we're encouraging you to both use it, but then also be with what's comfortable for you. And so they gave different examples of what might be comfortable and what you might put into your syllabus depending on how you personally felt about it.
So Paul, let me ask you, I just want to pick up on what Tamara, you just said about there could be a lot of problems with it. Do you have a sense, Paul, of what might some of the problems be with using artificial intelligence, or I shouldn't say using it in education, but allowing students to take advantage of artificial intelligence in education?
I think the main issue would be if it's not structured and based on a solid foundation, it could be troublesome for students, and education is fairly slow to respond. My most recent experience with an educational institution was the University of Texas. I lived near Austin, Texas. We had a condo right next to the campus, and they're going all in. UT's going all in on the skills required. They're going like Python and ensemble techniques and model tuning and deep learning with neural networks, NLP, natural language processing. And I think that it's going to be critical to get a solid foundation and basis. Without that, it's hit or miss. There's so many different swirling trends and things going on now. It's really hard to keep up with.
And all of these tools, they all say, AI tends to make mistakes and get it wrong. So there's, especially in an educational institution, to be aware of the fact that the tool that you're using isn't perfect. Although I can't really think of a tool that is perfect. That one of the when ChatGPT first came out, and by the way, I think it's really important to acknowledge that the days of people not knowing about large language models, they may not know that language, but the days of folks not knowing about ChatGPT and things like that are over. Now that Apple Intelligence is out in iPhones and iPads and Macs, I fully understand that not everyone is going to have the newest, fanciest gadget that works with it. But the fact that Apple is now building around the idea of Apple Intelligence, it is absolutely going to be ubiquitous. Everyone's going to have it, even if they don't know what to call it. We're all going to have it. It's going to be in the palm of our hand. But back when it started, when folks were just learning about ChatGPT and students were just learning about how they could use it to cheat, right. one of the professors that it was actually a Bible professor, if I remember correctly, and he decided to lean into it, like you just said, Paul, that UT was doing. He decided to lean into it, and he said to his students, for this assignment, ask ChatGPT. Like, I want you to submit what ChatGPT says, and then I want you to critique it. I want you to find all the ways that it's right and all the ways that it's wrong. Cite your sources. I mean, it was actually a brilliant way to approach this, because he never had to say, don't do that. It was, do that. Let's use it.
That speaks to what the real problem is with people who have problems with it, right? The fear of it that I keep hearing over and over again in conversations with teachers and conversations with writers, and it just the part of it that it makes it feel icky is that I keep hearing things like, well, students won't be able to think on their own, and they're not going to be able to develop a critical thinking skills. And I said, yeah, but this reminds me a lot of like what happened when Wikipedia came out. When Wikipedia first came out, everybody said, absolutely not. This is not a source. But anybody who does any kind of research starts at Wikipedia, because who put in Wikipedia articles? Someone who's an uber fan of Wikipedia. And you don't use it as your cited source, but you certainly would start there to kind of go, let me get some nuggets and figure out where I'm going to start. So I feel like in a lot of ways, the reason people are having such a absolute no use of it is that they're really not understanding they're not understanding not only the possibilities, but now what the job is. The job as an educator is to help kids navigate and help adults navigate this new world. And if you're going to instruct, it's not just about writing a 5-paragraph essay. And, as an English teacher, I get it, but that is not only that will not develop people's skills. And the idea that people are cheating, and that's a problem, because they're like, well, students will just cheat, speaks to a bigger issue. The truth of the matter is, cheaters cheat because they can't do it any faster. And so that's part of the problem, is that if your students don't know how to do something, then they're going to cheat because it's faster. But if they knew how to do it, they would just do it. And so that's kind of one of the the questions that we have as educators, that we have to say, well, what is it that is making students choose one or the other? And what exactly are the critical skills needed to navigate the world, which is what we're training students how to do.
My
And it may or may not be what we have done in the past.
my
And that's very
youngest
scary.
my youngest daughter is a sophomore, and I went to back to school. This was actually last year. I went to back to school night, and she was taking a technology class. And in this technology class, the teacher said that they're going to spend a good deal of time learning Excel. Great, like that's fantastic. I think it's really vital to learn Excel. I never took that class. I use Google Sheets, but it's the same thing. I use it every single day. I don't know any of the formulas or the
Right.
scripts, but I have sheets that do the most unbelievable things because I know how to search for the answers. And so my question for the teacher was, it's great that you're teaching them how to use Excel. Are you teaching them why to use Excel? Are you teaching them when this tool will benefit them in real ways, in powerful ways? And I worried that they were spending too much time on, on the technology of it. Frankly, there's I'm not sure if I buy this, but Joe is saying handwritten assignments are coming back into fashion as soon as so much
Mm-hmm.
AI work is being turned in. What is you mentioned before, Tamara, something about a turn it in dot what is that?
So for several years, most high school and college students turn their papers in through a software program called turnitin.com. And what Turnitin does is it will tell me as an educator, hey, your first period student, so and so, their paper's shockingly similar by 80% of
Really?
what your fourth period student is like. And then the other thing it does is when
Wow.
you upload it, it will give you as a student the percentage and say, hey, this much of your paper is plagiarized.
Right. And look,
So
it's
that
giving 30 AI, 37% of this is AI. Wow.
Yeah. So now Turnitin has, where lots of schools have said, hey, use Grammarly that to check to spell check, or use Microsoft to spell check. Well, now AI is so ubiquitous in all of these programs that Turnitin is flagging a lot of people who just used the spell check, didn't use any of the AI sources at all as plagiarized work. And that's, challenging some of the policies that people have because you really can't tell.
This is fascinating. I didn't even know this existed. Uh,
Yeah, that it's been around for a long time. It's been around at least I want to say at least since 2010 because
yeah.
that's when I first started hearing about it.
So, Paul, what do you make of the ethics of this? What do you make of the ethical questions and implications of? Sorry, I want to change my question because it's not so much about ethics. It's about the nature of learning, right? The nature what AI is doing is it's a little bit like COVID. I'm sorry, I'm running around here, but it reminds me of COVID. What COVID did for so many of us, God forbid any of us should ever have to go through something like COVID again, but if you have to find a bright spot, a light in the darkness, it it forced us to push ahead with technology, to learn how to use technology. It did a lot of good in that respect. AI is forcing us to think differently about education, I think.
Yeah, the demand is that there are going to be 97 million new AI jobs expected globally over the next 2 years.
Wow.
And in terms of ethics, there's this UT curriculum that just ramped up very quickly. They have like deep learning, machine learning, planning, search, and reasoning under uncertainty, and reinforcement learning. But they also have ethics in AI, and that's the only required course is the ethics in AI. It's front and center. It's the most critical aspect of any curriculum going forward and that's where their focus is. That's why it's the only required course.
97 million. That's amazing.
97 million. That's what UT forecasts
Wow. Worldwide?
globally.
Globally. Wow.
Globally, yeah.
So if that's the case, then we're going to need some good teachers of AI. And irony of all ironies, the best teacher of AI may turn out to be AI. John Snyder, over in the office hours community, put a fascinating study from Research Square into the Discord. It was called AI Tutoring Outperforms Active Learning. And I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but here's the bottom line. I'll bring you to the results. Hold on, here it is. Time on task. Wait, where is it? I just had it here. Okay, this is showing how they actually did it. Oh, it's giving me all this. I just wanted to get to... I want to get to the end. Where is it? Oh, well, I'll find it for you. But here's the takeaway. Kids learned... These were college students. Kids learned better with an AI tutor than they did with an actual teacher. Here it is. Students learn more than twice as much in less time when using an AI tutor compared with the active learning class. They also feel more engaged and more motivated. The best AI tutor, the best teacher of AI may end up being AI itself. So this, for me, raises a bunch of questions about the role of the teacher. I remember talking, God, it was back in the 80s, I guess, about personalized learning and how vital it is to be able to attend to every individual child's unique learning styles and needs. And how hard that is to do when you've got 15, 20, 30 kids in a classroom.
It is very hard.
Yeah. I mean, how can you possibly attend to every need? But with AI, in the same way that ChatGPT can consume a book in a matter of nanoseconds and spit out a summary or spit out discussion questions, an AI tutor presumably could personalize a lesson for a child and help guide that student in their learning far better than a teacher ever could. What's the role of the teacher?
So you're talking about content versus there are two things that you're doing as a teacher. One is you are teaching content, right? And the question really is it content you should be teaching or more of the soft skills and life skills? The amount of teaching that happens in any classroom with a teacher in teachable moments throughout the day of how to get K-12 education is partly content, and that's what they're tested on. But it's also partly helping kids learn how to be humans, right? And go from being, completely dependent on people to being able to be independent. And I was lucky. I started teaching pre-K, kinder, first grade, and ended my career teaching pre-K, kinder, first grade. And I literally went up the steps. So I had the same cohort of students, thousands of students, all the way through my last full-time was teaching 9th through 12th grade. So the reality is you're teaching a lot of things more than just content. I do think that teaching content, there's a lot of reasons why kids might respond to a computer better than a teacher, right? This is kind of where they're most comfortable. But I think one of those reasons is if someone is not doing well at something, then even though I may not be a judgmental teacher, I may be someone who's ready to help someone. I'll stand on my head to help them learn something. Their own personal self-efficacy, their belief that they can do something, and then their ability to, want to balance between being cool and, and also, a true understanding of where they are in their reading or their writing or whatever they're doing. Sometimes the AI can be just non-judgmental. And even if I'm not judgmental, it's a perceived judgment that I give off to a student who is struggling that is that I'm smarter than them and they'll never be in that space. And I think that the reality is if teachers are honest, then I am the best teacher for 25% of the students in my class. Absolutely. Like the moon's lined up. I'm the best teacher ever. And I am the worst teacher no matter what I do for 25% of the students in my class. And the 50% in the middle are great with me, but they could be great with David. They could be great with Paul. And that's the reality. So what do I do for that bottom 25% who just, I'm not the right teacher. I'm too loud. I'm too, goofy or whatever it is. This may be an answer to that.
One of the big critiques of AI that I hear all the time is how it can't feel, it can't emote, right? It doesn't have that's what makes us human. But what you just shared is so fascinating because those very qualities can also get in the way sometimes of good teaching because we are human. We tend to be judgmental. Because we're human, we tend to be impatient. An AI model will never get impatient with a student. I know because I'm a dummy. And so I will ask AI something, it'll get it wrong, and I'll realize that I didn't ask it the right way. And it'll take me 20 more times. And every time it's so polite. It's always, oh, I'm so sorry I got that wrong. Like it got anything wrong.
That's something for us to learn as teachers though, too, right? Because it's very hard sometimes. It is super hard to not take personally what a student is telling you. And what a student can tell you is, I hate you. I hate this class. And it's even impossible for me as a teacher to not take in some of that, no matter how experienced I am or how impervious I am to like whatever kids are going to throw at me. And in a way, that is something to learn from AI because AI comes at it 100% positive. They're like, of course, I'd like to, like, here, can you answer this question for me? It's like, absolutely, I can answer that question for you. Here it is. And then when it gets it wrong, it's like, or you say, actually, I really want this. You know what? I can give you that. It's so accommodating and so positive. And that is something that like, humans do struggle with that. Like we just do. So I think that's helpful in both for the student and for the teacher to kind of look at.
Yeah. Tony is reminding us that it's the modern day calculator, right? Teachers
Absolutely.
who were so concerned about the calculator. It's the same idea. And Joe writes back in, can assessment focus on the scantrons at the expense of blue books? Is it discipline dependent? That's another interesting question or point, is that it's not one size fits all necessarily.
Right.
There may be some topics for which AI tutors or companions are really helpful and others for which they're not. Let me just share really quickly from this study that John sent us, what they tried to build in to this AI model that they used. So they talked about key practices. One of them was facilitating active learning, which again is an interesting and a challenging idea when you're sitting in front of a screen, when you're sitting in front of a computer. How does that become active learning? We are, I've talked with about in the context of religious services, about the challenge of doing that in digital space is that we associate screens with passivity. When I sit down in front of the TV, I'm not planning on working on anything. I know that that's a passive experience, and so to turn something into an active experience online, I think is interesting and challenging. They go on to say managing cognitive load, promoting a growth mindset, which I love. If you don't know about growth mindset, that could be a whole other class.
Whole other thing.
Yeah, scaffolding content, which is I would argue something that AI could do much better than we can do. Ensuring accuracy of information and feedback, that's a challenge. That Paul, you pointed that out before. That's going to be a challenge. Although, sorry, I should say, and I should bring it up here, ChatGPT today, at least for me today, released their search feature. So now, if I were to, who is David Paskin? Now, this is actually going to know something because I've given it. Yeah, it has my. That wasn't a good example because it's got my information there. But I can now, tell me more about David Paskin. And then if I click on the globe, what it's going to do is it's going to search the web now.
Mm.
Right. So now instead of just using LLM, it's actually searching the web, and it's giving, it's finding all of my websites. So it's not very interesting, but you get the idea. So I wonder if the challenge of information being correct, if we may be on the road to getting a little better at that. And sorry, I'll finish up. Ensuring accuracy of information. Next, number 6 was delivering such feedback and information in a targeted and timely fashion. And then finally, allowing for self-pacing, which of course is what online learning is fantastic at. Asynchronous learning is that's what it's for. It's allowing students to go at their own pace. Paul, do any of these sort of jump out at you? Any of these best practices that you think AI is really gonna? It's built, it was built for that kind of work.
Yeah, it's kind of a right now. Supposedly, Apple Intelligence, from what I've heard, it's about 2 years behind, but they're using GPT, which puts them on a level playing field with everybody else. And
so my understanding is, so I'm on the beta, and my understanding is that I'm still at. Sorry, the public beta is at 18.1, at least on the phone. That doesn't have ChatGPT yet. The developers beta 18.2 has the ChatGPT functionality. So we just
so we haven't
peons.
seen it yet.
Yeah, we got
Right.
the little stuff, and the
Yeah.
real stuff is coming later. Yeah,
Yeah.
but and we'll have to see if they really can assure accuracy of information and all of that stuff. But
Yeah, if you enroll in the UT program, it's $10,000, and you have 30 credits. So you take 10 courses for 30 credits, and they're instructor intensive. They have TAs, assistants helping you, and professors, and it's pretty rigorous. I think it's probably the model for training right now in how to, and the degree is called an MSAI, Master of Science in Artificial Intelligence. And until AI itself gets to the point where you talked about, David, where it can train you, I think that's the way to go now, is get in a program with other real students in an academic environment, more traditional environment.
though, you just reminded me, Paul, that because I'm trying to think of myself going to a program like, I mean, I could never survive in a program. You know what the irony of all this is? My brother did his postdoc in artificial intelligence like 20 years ago. He's a big shot over at Google. He knows all this stuff. I don't understand it. But like 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I think, however long ago it was, he did his postdoc in artificial intelligence. That's not where I'm going to be. But the fact that ChatGPT almost from the get-go had the capacity for folks to build their own their own GPTs is really interesting, and it really is a challenge to all of us to do what you said, and that is to jump on the bandwagon and start learning about this stuff, so that we don't all feel like Luddites at the end of the
Isn't
day.
a degree in AI, though, similar to a degree in some ways in computer science 30 years ago? It's completely irrelevant in some ways 10 minutes after you've finished your first course. I feel like one of the things that we really have to focus on, whether it's in education K to 12, whether it's in AI, is understanding that we're not teaching content as much as we need to be teaching skills. The real skill in AI, in using ChatGPT, is really playing with your prompts. You can put 1,000-word prompt in. You can ask it to ask you questions to continue on the conversation and say, ask me what it is. Ask me more questions to get more information until you have enough information that you need. Really understanding that the easy part of ChatGPT is the cheating part. The easy part of it is, let me just run there and get information very quickly. But the real skill in it isn't the content, because the content is going to change 2000% every single quarter from now until the end of time. The real skills that we need to be teaching are how do you take all of this information that is coming at you? And I'm not sure that we're doing that to the best of our abilities with kids. We've given them tiny computers in their hands at a really young age. Thousands and thousands of images are coming at them every single minute. And the real skill to surviving in the world right now is understanding how to analyze and get rid of some of that noise
Filter.
and know what is
Yeah.
true and what is not true. And that's really what we have to be thinking about in education is what skills do people need to human in 2025, as we go
To
forward.
human. I love that. What skills do people need to human? That's fantastic.
Prompt engineering. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But and so that brings us full circle then back to AI policy, because what skills need to, I think, start doing, not skills, excuse me, what schools need to start doing is thinking less about how is AI going, sorry, let me change that. They need to worry less about how AI is going to disrupt learning and
Absolutely.
think more about how they can, what a blessing that will be. Because education is ripe for disruption, and AI may be coming along at just the right moment. So I'm gonna shift us now. By the way, one of the things that we learned last week is that 20 minutes per topic was not enough, and apparently we've learned that again this week, because we've gone 40 minutes now, and we've only done our first topic. So I apologize for that. The other thing I need to apologize for is that I have not been paying as close attention as I should to the chat, mostly because I'm focused on this. Okay, my daughter's boyfriend says hi. He's watching. Okay. Hi, Austin. Tony is using. Wait, Tony, you got 18.2? Oh, he's
What?
on the developer beta. And okay, so this is also interesting. So Tony also wrote he's using paid ChatGPT. I actually just did this today. Just today for the first time, and I figured I'm going to try it for a month. I
love it.
I purchased the whatever you call it, the monthly, because the web search feature is only available on that. So I'm going to hold on to it for the month. It's only $20. I'll hold on to it for the month and see how impactful that is. All right, I do want to shift us though, but by way of shifting us, I want to tell everyone that if you would like to be a part of this, please come join us. TheRundown.show. You can join the Discord over there. You can join Mukana over there. You can watch the shows. If you'd like to be on the panel with us, just reach out to me. I'd love to have you. Paul reached out. I'm so thrilled. I'm never letting Tamara off the panel, so she doesn't really have a choice in the matter. But really, we'd love for you to be a part of this also. So our second topic for today is about something that I have never owned. AirPods.
Me neither.
I don't know why. You neither? I have
No.
I have buds. I have buds that I use, but I always buy the cheaper ones because I'm not an audiophile. It's just not something that's been terribly important to me. But the big announcement is that now AirPods Pro 2 are also hearing aids. And this is pretty wild. It starts with a hearing test, and then it is able to automatically adjust the AirPod to support you in your hearing needs. It's Apple has been in the healthcare game in small ways. With I can get my EKG on my wrist, or I can get my heart
Love
rate
that.
in little ways like that. This is a whole different thing, if you ask me. And it's a whole different thing, I think, because in a strange way, they are commodifying healthcare. Now, the problem with saying that is that healthcare isn't free, and now they're charging for it. In some ways, it's the reverse of that, because when you think about having to get hearing aids, you're very often looking at what, $1,000 to $3,500.
thousands of dollars.
Right. AirPods Pro
Thousands.
2 are $249.
Yeah.
$249. With AirPods Pro 2, the hearing test is integrated. You don't have to go anywhere. You can get it right at home. There's a lot of folks who I think are, just like many, are uncomfortable with their gray hair. I'm not, I don't care. They're uncomfortable with the idea of wearing something and it being visible. Well, AirPods, apparently, except for Tamara and I, the entire world wears AirPods. They're ubiquitous. Everyone knows them. And if you're wearing them, that does not mean that you have a hearing problem. It means that you are an Apple fan person. And of course, there are advanced features. It's not limited to assisting with hearing. The flip side is that I think that there are some real concerns around this, and this is where I want to hear from you all. Limited suitability. These are not going to be for everyone. These are for folks with mild to moderate hearing loss. If you have something more significant than that, these really aren't going to help you. And I would hate for folks, there are a lot of people who don't get hearing aids when they need them. I would hate for people to rely on this when they really do need something a little more substantial. Battery life is a big difference also. AirPods Pro have about 6 hours of battery life. Traditional hearing aids can last a lot longer than that. Lack of professional guidance. You're doing this at home on your own, and you're trusting a phone and technology as opposed to a person. And of course, because of that, because you're self-administering this test, it's entirely possible that you may not get the most accurate results. So what do you think of Apple getting into this business? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it a mixed bag? Paul, I'm going to put you on the spot. What do you think?
Well, I had someone I know recently was in a car accident. And what happened was they fell asleep and they had a collision and the airbags opened, and the sound of the airbags was so loud that they lost their hearing. They couldn't hear. And so I was in a video call with them, and they had the Apple earbuds, and they were able to hear me perfectly. And this was like a day or two after, and as an interim step to recover your hearing, they're right there. You can hear with these. They work. Now, as far as how they compare to the standard procedure that audiologists use, I don't know about that. But this person, we were able to carry on. The thing I don't like about that type of earbud is that it's untethered. Right. I like the kind of earbud that has a thing that goes around the back of my neck, so if it falls out, I'm not going to lose it.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about how secure these things are in your ear.
Yeah, folks on YouTube are really chiming into this. Hearing aid battery life is a big deal. AirPods aren't really there yet. Tony has them. It looks like he says they're worth the $189 investment on Amazon. I didn't realize they were that cheap. The spatial audio is fantastic on them, he says. Amplify Studios. I'm very excited about the new hearing aid functionality in the AirPods Pro. I have decent hearing, but find signal to noise hard to distinguish. I'm not sure if I have hearing loss at all. I can't decide if I'm just cranky or if I really do have trouble hearing. It's possible. And John, you were out, I think, with your kids before, but just a belated thank you for sharing that amazing study with us that you did. He says the health system is incredibly complex. The consumer is not the payer. CMS sets the bar for reimbursement. Incentives encourage raising costs. Many non-healthcare companies have failed to break in. So it's interesting that if any company is going to be able to break in, right, it's Apple. For someone who had significant health issues, Sorry. For someone who had, from Bobby World, someone who had significant health issues, I find some of the Apple Watch suggestions not as helpful. I go to check up regularly and probably more often than most. Right. And you know what, Bobby World, I mean, that's anyone with, I don't know how to say it in English, sechel, anyone with any, wisdom understands that these are tools. They are not replacements for professionals. Sorry, Tamara, I cut you off.
No, I was going to say the battery issue isn't necessarily a problem because the reality is hearing aids are thousands of dollars. You could buy 2 sets of AirPods for less than that if that's really
I heard
what
someone
your
else suggest
issue is.
that.
I mean,
I heard
honestly,
someone else say that. Just buy another pair. Right.
Yeah. I was thinking about it also just in terms of my life in the theater, because we're always trying to find accessibility things for theaters, and it's incredibly expensive. It's crazy to try to retrofit theaters to be accommodating for people. For me, this gives access, and I think if it pushes healthcare companies to rethink how easy it is to get hearing aids. I'm helping someone get hearing aids right now, and I can't tell you how many doctor's appointments it is, how many things. So in that interim time, he can't hear. His hearing aid was broken. He can't get it repaired. So I think that the healthcare industry, like many of our big industries, it's a tough thing to navigate, even under the best of circumstances. So if this is allowing some people to hear who they wouldn't go to the doctor, they wouldn't go through this process, or they don't have the money to go through that process, then for me, I love the idea that there's a possibility that something mainstream would push for healthcare to rethink how they operate.
I do worry a little bit that this isn't Apple's main lane. What I mean by that is, we spent an inordinate amount of time in the office hours community making tools do things they weren't meant to do. Making Zoom become a production platform, and which of course now it can be, but that wasn't the original idea. We were all hacking. What are they called? Before the Elgato prompter came out, right? We were all hacking teleprompters and things like that. I feel like Apple is best. We are all best when we pick a lane and do it well. And there are some things that, I would argue that Numbers and Pages, their work suite that's not their lane. And it's not, with the exception of Keynote, those tools are not the best that Apple could put out. And this needs to be the best.
Well, and I agree with that. And Apple has a track record of introducing something super cool and never looking at it again. And like not adding
Vision
features to it, or,
Sorry, did I say
Siri.
vision? Sorry, did I say?
So that is something that I think that's a really valid concern. If you're going to play in a lane where you're dealing with people's hearing, now that's totally different than dealing with, introducing a cool new feature that you're never going to look at again, or you're never going to integrate. You're right. Pages it's been there. It's been the same way it's been forever and ever, and no one uses it. So that's something that I do think that should be a concern of ours. And that if Apple's going to go down this road, then I want them to go down this road. I want them to be offering things that are alternatives to other things. But I also want them to understand that this is going to be something that is important, that this is not a cool new feature. This is something that is now a life or death feature, right? And I want you to put the time into that.
There was an interview with someone from, forgive me for I'm not remembering his name, one of the about this on YouTube, and he said, he was one of the designers, and he said, every once in a while we get to make lots of cool stuff, but every once in a while we get to make something that really sort of changes the world a little bit. Lois is watching, and she says, she asks, isn't the hearing aid function secondary to Apple's speaker function? Yes. Mm-hmm. This is just a plus. It's on top of. You do not buy Apple AirPods Pro 2 necessarily just for them to be hearing aids. You buy them because you want to listen to great music.
It's also a different technology because a hearing aid is not calibrated towards music. It is calibrated in a
Towards
totally
speech.
different way. It's calibrated towards speech. And so that's also different and interesting. And what would be interesting is to see how that's going to change things. I mean, hearing aids have come a long way. I had a student who was 4 years old and who wore a little bone conduction, hearing aid. And her mom was like, "It's amazing. We can fly anywhere now because her hearing aid goes right into her iPad and she can get Netflix during the entire flight and I don't have to worry about it." But so things have changed and shifted, and I'm hoping that both things continue where we're really challenging to solve real life problems with whatever technology we have.
Paul, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, with the only earbuds that I use are really
We
it's
just lost
something.
your audio, I think. Or is it just me?
Just
Tamara,
you.
can you hear him?
I can hear him.
Oh, I
hear me?
can't hear either of you. I lost your audio. All right,
David,
keep talking,
You
Paul.
must have
I'm
bubble
going
gum
away.
in your ears.
I can't.
David had the iPods.
Hey, put on your
AirPods.
earbuds. Put on your earbuds. No, my experience, the earbuds I use, it's called the H2O, and they're for swimming, and they fit around the back, and they're bone conduction, they're waterproof, and I'm not worried about losing them. They're not going to fall off, and they work better underwater than they do above water, and they're Bluetooth technology. I just don't like the form factor. The form factor is what bothers me about the Apple earbuds. The functionality is great. And in the case of the person I was talking about, it really helped them get their hearing back immediately after that unfortunate auto accident they were in. Can you hear me now, David?
We've lost David.
My goodness. Oh no, it's up to us, Tamara. There
It's
we
up to
go.
you.
There
You're the
we
one
go.
on screen. We're back.
We're
But I don't
back.
hear David. I still don't hear David. I mean, I tend to use Beats or something that is like bulky and crazy because I want
Can you
people to
hear me now?
know that they can't talk to.
We hear you
Yes,
now. You all
we
right?
hear you.
We're back. We were
God
doing
almighty.
filler just
I
then.
know. I'm
Right.
so sorry. You know what's funny is that before the show, Tamara was telling me that sometimes her Streamer X kind of, that's what I'm using. My earbuds just, I mean, not my earbuds. That would have been funny actually if I was using AirPods. No, my monitor. So I just put it on speaker. I apologize for that. Keep talking. Go ahead.
I've never used them for the same reason, the form factor, but also the Apple earbuds, wired or otherwise, really hurt my ears. I have teeny tiny little ears, and I know the newer ones are softer and mushier, and I just have not bought into it, partly because one, I'll lose one of them on a subway train and they would just be gone. That would be me for sure. And so I just never got them. I like the idea of them, but my initial reason is, why would I pay that much money for something that absolutely I get 20 minutes before my ears start hurting?
Yeah, the form factor thing. Several years ago, I was going to this event in Austin called Carnival. And I was going into the event, and I had just got these two earbuds similar to the Apple product. They fit in your ears. And what do you know? I'm 20 feet in. There's all these people, and I'm missing one of my earbuds. So I had to backtrack and find my earbud. That experience kind of turned me off to the idea of having untethered, independent earbuds in my ears. Maybe the Apple ones fit better, and maybe they don't fall out of your ear.
By the way, Tamara, you and I are getting some hate from people who use Pages. Well, because we said that no one uses Pages.
Of course.
Oops. Okay, one more question for you about this. Blurring the lines. We're now officially blurring the lines between medical devices and lifestyle products. I think about when not the AirPods, but the what are they called? The earbuds. What were they called? The wired ones. What were those called? Were they just
Oh, I don't remember. They
Apple
were painful.
earbuds? I don't remember. But I mean, the iconic commercials where it was these silhouettes with just the white, I mean, these are fashion and consumer. And what do we make of blurring those lines? Are we okay with that? Are people going to start blinging out their medical devices?
I don't
Would we
think
be
so.
against that? Like to me, it's like if it normalizes and makes it so that it's okay for people, if they're going to start blinging out ear hearing aids and we make it normal that it's okay that people have hearing issues, then I would not have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, if I was going to bling it out, I would make some kind of way to run a cord from one to the other, which went behind my neck, so that if one of them fell, I wouldn't lose it.
I
That'd be a
guarantee
good
you
piece
that
of bling
exists.
to have.
I
Yeah.
guarantee you that already exists. Absolutely.
Probably. It's probably on Amazon.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Absolutely. Ugh, more people saying they like pages. Guys, it's nothing personal. It's just
I hang my head in shame. I'm so
I
sorry to have
know.
offended you.
I want to thank you both. We've hit the top of the hour, and I'm so grateful for your time. Paul, it was so nice having you here. Thank you so much for joining
It's great
us.
being here. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for the opportunity, David.
Super fun.
And by the way, Lois, and she's absolutely right about this. I wish I had remembered this, is saying that people already bling out their walkers and wheelchairs, and she's absolutely right. In fact, that's kind of a big thing. My mother-in-law and father-in-law, they have that also. They do that also. You're right. Thank you. Wow, we got tossed under the bus as hate because we like a product. No. They weren't really hating on us. And yes, I love Pages also. I don't ever use it. I love Pages. There's nothing wrong with it.
I love the fact that there's a choice for everybody to use what makes them the happiest.
There's absolutely my only point was that's not Apple does not spend an enormous amount of time focusing on Pages because they know that that's really not. They're a thing. They're a device company really and a services company. But even though services is growing, Pages and numbers not a huge part of that. Those services, at least not yet. Having said that, there's a lot to be said for when you buy a computer, you've got everything you need right there. It's all pre-installed.
Absolutely.
There's something to say for that. But I digress. I'm so grateful to you, Paul, for being here. Tamara, so lovely talking with you again. We will be back
being here
next Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. I hope you all have a lovely, lovely rest of Halloween. If you're celebrating, if you're going out, get lots of great candy. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time on The Rundown. Bye.